Alright everyone, and welcome to Going Over Bet Pro Wrestling, the only wrestling betting tips podcast on your planet. I'm your host Scotsman, and today I'm going to be covering WWE Day 1 and New Japan Wrestle Kingdom. One of those I'm a little bit more excited for than the other. I'm sure you can guess which one. Today I'm actually joined by a co-host, Gus Edwards, who hosted the Retro Wrestling Reviews podcast covering the likes of Mid-South and WWE Superstars. Gus, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, Scotsman. Thanks for having us on the podcast. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm sure you cannot wait to talk about WWE. Speaking of, let's get right into Day 1. The big match, Roman Reigns is a minus 215 favourite against underdog Brock Lesnar, who's plus 170. With rumours of lax COVID rules in the WWE, the feud also potentially going longer. Is Brock Lesnar a good underdog bet here?
I think he is, to be honest, because I think it's going to end in some sort of screw job, which gives him the out for the DQ. I can't see this ending with a pinfall, to be honest, because I think they're wanting to do this again at WrestleMania. It's whether it's a case that Paul Heyman screws over Brock or whatever. But I could actually see Brock winning by DQ, so plus 170 is a great price for him.
Well, actually, if you're thinking that, then a better bet may be the sportsbooks, Mr. Green, and the other can be sportsbooks, Bet Warrior, and so on. You can actually bet the method of decision, and the pinfall's minus 278. Submission, which is not going to happen, I think, is plus 234. And then any other method, such as DQ, is plus 234. So that actually covers if Reigns wins by DQ or if Brock wins by DQ. So if anyone's looking to bet that one, any other method, plus 234. Probably a good little bet. Personally, I think, yeah, Brock Lesnar, there's enough reasons to bet him at plus 170. If Roman Reigns is taking time off, if Heyman's sticking with him, etc., yeah, it looks like a good underdog bet. So we've got the Raw side of things now. We've got Big E minus 165 versus Seth Rollins plus 240 versus Bobby Lashley plus 350 versus Kevin Owens plus 500. Raw's ratings have been going down. Is it time to take the title off Big E? Is that experiment over?
I don't blame Big E for the Raw ratings, but I'm not Vince McMahon and he probably does, which means that Bobby Lashley at plus 350 is probably the best price on day one. I would be very tempted to go for that one.
Yeah, not to get too into it, but I think, one reason Big E's champion is so WWE can show how progressive they are, so having Lashley win would be a good idea. Now, in saying that, something people should remember is last year when Cesaro signed his new contract to stay with the company, he got a nice big push against Roman Reigns. He never actually won the title, but he got a 3-month push before being booked into oblivion like usual. So Kevin Owens just re-signed with them, plus 500. His odds have been going down. He was plus 700. So people obviously think there's a chance for Owens. So he's someone I might be looking at as an underdog bet. I do think, though, if anyone's winning, Lashley is probably the one if it's not Big E. So then we have Big Time Bex, minus 300 versus Liv Morgan, plus 200. Is WWE's current diva flavour of the month going to win the title here?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Becky Lynch should be minus 900 or something ridiculous like that. There's no way Liv Morgan goes over.
I mean, we did have that amazing angle with the attack at the gym, which was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in the history of wrestling. Yeah, I don't think... I mean, Liv Morgan, yeah, she should not be, like you said, Becky Lynch. I'm not one for bets below minus 200, but Big Time Bex at minus 300. Don't hate it here. Although, again, the whole thing with COVID and all that, I mean, Seth's at home with COVID right now. You have no idea could affect it. That's where an underdog bet might come into play, but... So now I've got this match that I'm sure we've never seen before, the Usos versus the New Day. The Usos are minus 230, the New Day are plus 170. Will the Usos drop the titles here?
Well, it is the best of 75 series, and I think it's about, 33 each or something like that. So, I don't know. I don't see the Usos losing. At the moment, I still think it's the Usos and Roman Reigns going to be dominating SmackDown at the moment. And I think probably until WrestleMania, I wouldn't expect the Usos to lose the titles. New Day at plus 170, it's tempting, but not big enough. If it was maybe plus 250, I would be tempted by it, but no, I would probably say no bet for that one.
You know, the one thing is, you do have some solid heel teams like Sheamus and Ridge Holland, Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss if they want to go that way, but we also know that the tag team division is really just a prop in the company right now, so yeah, I mean, it's one of those where it's like you can maybe just flip a coin and New Day win and it doesn't really matter. So again, another potential underdog bet, but not one I'm loving too much. Like you said, plus 250, I would definitely be on it. Plus 170, very likely I won't be. I will be doing all my betting tips, official ones at betwwe.com, and I'll do them a couple of days before the shows. So maybe by then the odds have changed and I will back New Day officially. Now we've got Drew McIntyre minus 625 versus Madcap Moss plus 350. This has been an incredible blood feud. As someone who was a fan of the old days, I'm sure you've been loving this. It involved trying to remove a sword from a desk like Excalibur. It had Corbin and Moss getting covered in eggnog, battling each other with candy canes. This is one for the ages.
This reminds me back in 1982 of the Von Erichs and the Freebirds feud. I mean, this is going to pop the territory, these two guys. I mean, they're just... What can you say about this feud? It's just been absolute pish, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, yeah that pretty much.
Yeah, and again, if Drew loses this, I mean, he should never have lost at WrestleMania last year against Lashley, but he did. And that was kind of like a bit of a downturn from Vince's thought of McIntyre. But I don't think that Vince is that disappointed in McIntyre that he's going to have him lose to Madcap Moss.
Yeah, they have. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before they actually did pull an upset involving similar situation where it was Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns, and everyone expected Reigns to get the win. And I think the odds were even more so, like, I think Corbin was like plus 500. I'd have to look it up, and he got the big surprise win around this time of year. But yeah, Madcap Moss just seems like a joke character. In saying that, if they're going to go with Drew versus Baron Corbin, like, you know, you have Madcap winning here thanks to Corbin's interference. So, again, it's a potential slight underdog bet. I really can't see it, but we've seen lots of crazier things like WWE. Finally, we've got Edge minus 700 versus The Miz plus 400. They had that whole big white wedding thing last night on Raw. And you know they wish they could have did a whole red wedding thing with a bloodbath. Instead, it was just a black and grey bath because it's 2021 WWE. So The Miz is plus 400. Is he any chance at beating Adam Copeland here?
He's always got a chance, The Miz. As you say in pretty much every write-up that you've got, if Miz is an underdog, you know, he's worth betting on. There's only a few losses that Edge can have at the moment to actually make somebody, and I don't think it's worth wasting it on The Miz. But plus 400 for The Miz, who probably has more underdog wins than anybody else, is probably worth even a quarter unit bet. But I'm not confident on that at all.
I know, I'm someone who likes to say, I always bet on Miz, but this is one where it's like, no, Edge is so protected, it really doesn't seem worth it. It's just a transitional feud for him more than anything else, and yeah, I really kind of see Edge losing. Although he did lose in the against Seth Rollins and stuff, so that is possible, but even at plus 400, yeah, I don't know if I can bet on Miz here. Well, that's unfortunately day one all over with. That was so fun to discuss, but now we move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 16, which I must admit I'm slightly more excited for. How about you?
Yeah, really, really looking forward to this, especially night one. I think the top 4 or 5 matches or something like that should be really, really good. Night 2, maybe not, it's got as much depth, but it should be a fun card. You're never going to have a bad Wrestle Kingdom, no matter what. I mean, probably the worst match on this show is going to be better than the best match on day one. So we're really looking forward to it.
This is going to be an incredible show. So we've got the first match, so we'll cover night 1 first of all. Yeah, and you're right, I'm more excited for night 1 than night 2, but I think a lot of night 2 will be fallout from night 1, so it'll be, after night 1 we'll be anticipating it more. So we've got the first match. Show is minus 150 versus Yo plus 108. Yo is coming off his great run, the Super Juniors, where after losing 4 straight, he ran out with all the wins, made the final against Takahashi. Show interfered and attacked both wrestlers in the main event. Tanahashi ended up getting the win. Then he said Yo must shut Show up for good. So, will he? Who's taking this one?
I still think that Show is probably going to win the Battle of the Ex-Partners. Mainly, and we'll discuss that later on when we go for the junior heavyweight thing. But I think Show's probably getting the big heel push. Is probably going to be a challenger for that title in future. And I think minus 150 is a great price for him.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Like, the fact that he came in and, power drive both guys in the final of the Best of the Super Juniors, like I said, that's a big push. And, yeah, you got to think they stick with it. I agree with you on that one. Minus 150 is a really good price on that. So now I've got a 6-man. Yes, it is. It's a 6-man. It's Tanahashi and the Mega Coaches, Taguchi and Romero, versus Bullet Club, which is Kenta, Ishimori, and El Fantasmo. Tanahashi and the Mega Coaches are big favourites, well, pretty big favourites at minus 190. Bullet Club are plus 134. Night 2, we will, of course, see Tanahashi versus Kenta in a no DQ match for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. So do you think that no DQ stipulation will factor in here in some manner?
Yeah, basically, I see Tanahashi and his team winning. They won't pin Kenta. That's not WWE where they'll pin the champion just before it, but they will give the challenger a big win. So I think he'll win, but I think there'll be the beatdown after the match from the Bullet Club. But yeah, definitely Tanahashi and the Mega Coaches here. Maybe not a price that you would bet on though, but I think of the first night they're probably the most solid team to get a win on it.
Yeah, Kenta's one of those guys you just never know when he's going to pull out a win. Like, he's one of those little underdog guys that you don't really want to bet on, but you don't really want to bet against either. So yeah, at those odds, I think it is worth skipping. So then we've got the big one. It's United Empire versus Naito, Sanada, and Bushi. It's Will Ospreay's first match in Japan since May. And then, of course, tomorrow night he's facing the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. United Empire are minus 177, and the others are plus 125. Surely the United Empire go over here.
Yeah, Ospreay getting the title shot on night 2. He's got to get his hand raised. I think he'll definitely get the pin as well. Minus 177. It's less than Tanahashi's team, so it probably is worth a bet. But yeah, can't see past Ospreay's team in the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, New Japan are known for the upsets, but that would just be... I mean, I think that'd be beyond an upset. It'd be stupid, just plain stupid. So unfortunately, we don't have any betting odds for who Shibata will be fighting. Who do you think he'll be fighting anyway?
I don't think it's going to be anybody big. I think it's going to be either Clark Connors or Alex Reynolds, I think his name is. Some of the guys that he's training over in the LA dojo. I think it's probably going to be one of those two.
Yeah, that would make sense. I see so much hype for it. People are talking themselves into Bushi coming back and stuff like that. It's like, no, this is, I think the highest guy they could get would be someone like a Chase Owens or someone. It's really just to kind of showcase Shibata and his return to the ring. Now we've got one. This match actually took place earlier this year, and it wasn't the best match. It was Ishii versus Evil. The Stone Pitbull is plus 110, a slight underdog. And everyone's favourite Evil is minus 155 favourite. I think Evo has actually only beaten him once in 5 attempts, so will he get his second win over the Pitbull?
Hopefully not. We've talked before about how disappointing and boring we kind of find Evil. I mean, since 2016, when he had a really good G1 and he had some really great matches, he seems to have went downhill. But the issue is, he wins, and he wins, and he wins. So he's probably not that bad of a price, but you'd have to think, with it being Ishii's first defence of the title, that he should probably go over. And as an underdog there, he's probably... I would probably bet on him. I would take the risk. Ishii's just...
Yeah, I think so. But you know we're going to bet on it, and then we're going to be right pissed off when Evo wins. It's the way of the world.
Yeah, you just know that half a dozen people are going to interfere, and yeah, it's just going to take away from the match, which is a shame for Ishii, because he deserves to have as many big matches and great matches as possible on these stages.
Yeah, that's one match that I actually think, you look at the card, there's so many sleeper matches that could be great. I think that's one match. Just wrestling-wise, it's going to be a bit of a disappointment. Just depends, obviously, how they work the match, but I'm not getting my hopes up for that one, match quality-wise. So now I've got Chaos, minus 155 versus Dangerous Techers, plus 110. Interesting stat is that 7 out of 9 times, the winners of the World Tag League have also won the championship. So will that be 8 out of 10? I mean, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. lost the titles here last year, exact same situation basically. So have they learnt from that? Are they going to retain this time, or are they going to be just another stat?
I think that they're going to lose this time. I think after the G1 performance from Zack, I think he's ready for a singles push. So I could see this becoming the split of the teams. I think Zack Sabre Jr. and Jeff Cobb are probably going to be the two favourites for the New Japan Cup coming up in a few months. And I think getting the title off him here and moving on to singles is probably the perfect opportunity. So yeah, I'm all over Chaos here.
Yeah, that makes sense. And at minus 155, I think they're definitely bettable. Plus, the trend is there, 7 out of 9 times, so that shows it's like with WWE Royal Rumbles and so on, you can look at that trend and see it's all about future plans. So with Goto and Yoshihashi winning the World Tag Team League, they're obviously planning them to go. So yeah, I agree with you. Even at minus 155, I think that's a very good bet. Now we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship as El Desperado defends against Takahashi. These two, we just saw them in the Super Junior 28 and they went the full time limit. This one right here, definitely the show stealer match quality wise, I think. Who do you think's taking it?
I think Takahashi is the man for this division. I think it's what they want to push around. He's had a couple of injuries, so he's never had sort of like the full proper push. I think if he's healthy and they're confident in him, I think that he goes over. Again, it's a bit unfortunate for El Desperado because it's his first defence, but I could see it going to Takahashi and him headed into a feud with Sho.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he's the one he's the one that will carry the division. I love El Desperado, but going forward, especially just with everything going on right now and with COVID and all that stuff, you want certain guys that you can really rely on that are bigger names, and Takahashi is the one. So now we've got the main event of night one. This is a really highly anticipated match. I mean, Okada's not my favourite wrestler in the world. The money clip has to be one of the worst moves I've ever seen. He's minus 155 versus Shingo plus 110. We know Ospreay versus Okada was going to happen in May in a big rematch. That didn't happen due to certain circumstances. Are they going to run it again here? Is Okada going up against the true world champion on night 2?
My thought is that they're going to kick off again from where they were going to be in May. So I could see Okada going over. I think that's a shame for Shingo because he's carried the company for the last year. In ring over the past couple of years, he's just been there's been nobody else in wrestling on his level. I was never a fan of his at first, but over the past 18 months or so, you just can't help but be a fan. And I think it's going to be a shame that he's going to lose. Hopefully, he doesn't lose to the money clip because while I love Okada, I have to admit it is the worst move ever. It gets no reaction, and it would put the crowd to sleep before it put Shingo to sleep. But yeah, I could see.
Oh, he's never experienced the Rainmaker, so this would be a good time for him to experience that. So yeah, I gotta agree with you. I love Shingo. I think he's did awesome, but Okada is the one. He's minus 155. Would you bet Okada at those odds?
Yeah, I probably would, because I'm pretty confident that they are going to be kicking off. Whether I would bet if it was those odds against Ospreay, probably not, but I definitely do think that he's going on to night 2 as the champion.
So now we go on to night 2 ourselves, and a lot of this, a lot of the bets involved in this might be based on the previous night, so it can be a little bit tough to say, but we'll see how it goes. So we've got the first match is a 3-way bout for the IWGP Junior Tag titles. Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask, of course, are defending against Bullet Clubs and the Mega Coaches. Bullet Club are plus 100, Flying Tiger are plus 150, the Mega Coaches are plus 260. Who do you think is going to take this one?
Going for Tiger Mask and Robbie Eagles here. I think New Japan are really high on Eagles. He's got a big push over the past few months or so, and they always love a Tiger Mask as well. So yeah, I could see those two going. Because we've got no sort of underdogs, I think whoever you kind of fancy here is definitely worth a bet. And to me, yeah, Eagles and Tiger Mask without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I like them too. You've also got Taguchi and Romero, who, they've kind of had experience with other guys in tag matches, but I don't think that plays in. You're right, I think Tiger Mask and Eagles, way to go. That's who I would bet as well. Okay, so we now have, there's actually a Stardom special match on the card. That should be fun. There's no betting odds for that. We've got a 4-way match. We don't know the competitors yet.
We just know that Toru Yano is going to win that one.
Yeah, I could see that, yes. So we now move on to the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Championship. You've got your challengers, Goto, Yoshihashi and Yo versus Evil, Takahashi and Shaw. I mean, with, the night before leading into this one, that could really affect the outcome of this match. House of Torture are minus 177 and Chaos are plus 125. Who's going to take this one?
Evil never loses. I think it's basically Evil and Shaw always get the push. You've got Yujiro there who, if it wasn't for Peter, nobody would really care about him, so he kind of hangs on to the rest of them. But yeah, I still see those three coming out as still the champions.
Yeah, 100%. I really like that one. I mean, can't stand Yoshihashi, and especially if Evil loses the previous night, he would be a really, really good bet here, because there's no way he's losing 2 nights in a row. Now we go from one person I hate in Yoshihashi to one of my favourite wrestlers in Great Okan. This is a pick'em, him versus Sanada, minus 118. I gotta say, I'm a big Great Okan mark, but I do think he should get a win here, because I think with Ospreay fighting, United Empire need to be strong. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, the average Okan has been getting a bit of a push. Sanada seemed to get like a mini push last year, but it's kind of faded away a bit. I don't know if all 3 of the United Empire need to win. I think if one of them's going to lose, it probably is going to be the Great Okan. So I would probably say no bet here, but I would be going towards Sanada.
Yeah, it's a tough one. When it's minus 118 odds, I always try and pick if it's a pick 'em like that, I always try to pick someone, but I go back and forth here. I do think if you look in the future, Okan someone that really needs to win more than Sanada, but we've seen him lose quite a few times in matches like this. So yeah, I could see Sanada prevailing and winning here. It'll be an interesting one. I'll have to think about it more and then post the betting tips on betwwe.com a couple of days before Wrestle Kingdom, and you'll see who I've actually went with. Now we've got Jeff Cobb plus 110 against Naito minus 155. Obviously Naito had a really tough G1, getting injured in the first match. That was brutal. I believe he's beaten him in one singles match before these two have fought. So will Jeff Cobb tie it up at 1-1?
Yeah, this is my big big bet of the whole weekend is Jeff Cobb here at, what is it, plus 110. That's an incredible price. He got that huge push in the G1, and then with New Japan as well, they're really good storytellers, and what they like to do if somebody's been out injured quite a bit. You've seen that with not Ibushi. Yeah, Ibushi in the G1. Yeah, he lost the very first match because it was like he's been out of action and he's a bit rusty. And I could see them doing the same story here with Naito. I think, he's been off for a wee while. He's back, first big match. But Jeff Cobb, they're big with him, biggest part of the United Empire. The fact he's an underdog to me just says, get my money on him straight away here.
Yeah, you're right. He's got to take this one. We saw it. The G1, he was superb, and they don't do that kind of push for someone if they're not going to keep it going. And he obviously delivered as well in spades. So yeah, Jeff Cobb, you're right. Probably the best bet of the weekend, actually. There's to get underdog odds in that. That's one I would tell everyone. Don't wait for my official betting tips. Get on it right now, because I think by the time I'm doing the betting tips, by the time Wrestle Kingdom starts, he'll be the favourite. So now we've got Kenta minus 230 versus Tanahashi plus 160. This is the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship no DQ match. I'm pretty sure that benefits Kenta slightly. What do you think? Yeah,
I'm probably going to go with Kenta here. It's first defence, I think they'll put him over. He's already been across in America working with AEW, so it wouldn't surprise me if he makes another appearance there. I think Tanahashi, they were wanting to do Tanahashi versus Moxley in AEW, but that's obviously been put off for personal issues at the moment, so there's no point in bringing him into AEW until he's probably ready to go, so I could see Kenta retaining here.
Yeah, it makes sense to me as well. Okay, we've also got... Actually, we've got one more match left. It's the main event, and obviously we don't know who it's going to be yet, if it'll be Shingo or Okada versus Will Ospreay. We both think it'll be, unfortunately, Okada, but you can bet on who the title holder will be at the end of the event. You've got Okada and Ospreay, both joint favourites at plus 134. Then you've got Shingo at plus 210. Ospreay, of course, was never beaten for the title. He declares himself the true World Heavyweight Champion. So is he going to take back what's rightly his?
Yeah, this is Will Ospreay's night. Again, they're resetting basically into their plans for 2021. I think he was going to get the big win over Okada back in May. I think this will happen this time. I don't think there was plans for him to have a short title reign. And now after his neck injury, he's back. And I think, he'll win his title back. And at plus 134 odds, I think that's a pretty good bet to sort of end the night.
Yeah, I think it's actually worth skipping the Shingo Okada match and just betting Ospreay to win here. That seems like the best thing for me in regards to how the main events will work out. Well, thank you, Gus, for doing this podcast with me. It's been great. You've given a lot of great insight, and hopefully sometime in the future you'll get back to doing your retro wrestling review podcast.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully at one point we'll get back to that. Unfortunately, personal issues has kind of taken up a lot of my time. But for anybody that's still wanting to listen to the podcast, they're all available. I think there's 25 episodes, and it's whether it's Mid-South Wrestling or Mid-Atlantic or some WWE from 94 back to 1986 or something like that. They're all available to listen. It's retro wrestling reviews, so check them out.
Yeah, be sure to check them out, and also be sure to check out BetWWE.com. I will be doing my official betting tips there for Day 1 and for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm not 100% sure of the dates yet, but it'll probably be, I think Day 1 I'll be doing this Saturday. I might wait and see how SmackDown works out, so I'll probably do them day of. Wrestle Kingdom I'll probably also do on Saturday. To be honest, I'm waiting for the Wrestling Observer newsletter to come out and hearing Dave Meltzer's insights on that. So be sure to check out BetWWE.com, and for the podcast, BetWrestlingPodcast.com, and from Scotsman and Gus, I'm saying goodbye, good night, good luck, and always bet on Charlotte.